We've all been watching AI image generation just absolutely explode recently, haven't we?
It's been wild.
It really has. I mean, just from like blobs of color to photorealistic images, and it feels like every week there's something new and amazing.
Yeah.
But today, what we're going to dive into is what feels like a true step change, and that is the integration of native image generation right into the 4.0 model powering ChatGPT and Sora. And that's not just another filter or plugin you can use.
Right.
This is baked right into the core model.
Exactly. And there's a lot of buzz about this, and it's not just hype. The developers are genuinely really excited about the potential and how it can move beyond just a fun novelty and actually become something that is genuinely useful
Right.
for people in all sorts of different use cases.
And when we say useful, we mean for everyone, from creatives trying to come up with new ideas for their projects to teachers trying to illustrate some complex concept to small business owners who need to get a marketing image up quickly. Even students trying to bring their own ideas to life. The potential impact of this is pretty massive.
It is. And the best way to understand is to actually see it in action. So Gabe, the lead researcher, and Proful, the head of multimodal research, gave a fascinating demo recently, and it really highlighted how integrated and intuitive this new capability is. And it all stemmed from a very fundamental question, really, and that is, what happens when you embed image generation into a model as powerful as their GPT-4? It wasn't just about tacking on another feature. It was really about exploring this very interesting synergy between language and vision.
Exactly. Now, one of the things I found really interesting is that it actually sounds like about a year after they trained this GPT-4 model, the team started to see some really, really encouraging signs that it could do this. And that there was a blog post at the time that highlighted that this model was doing something pretty surprising. It could not only render these coherent paragraphs of text within an image, but it was also able to combine different images in really novel and unexpected ways. And it was a very early indicator that the model had this inherent visual understanding.
You can almost imagine that moment of discovery, right, when they first saw this. And Gabe actually likened this to the excitement he felt during those very early days of GPT-2. Which, if you remember, was really a groundbreaking moment for language AI. So that just goes to show how significant this step was for them.
It really does. It really does. But it's worth saying, of course, this early success, as promising as it was still, pretty rough around the edges. I think even they admit that.
They did say that.
There were still errors in the text, and it wasn't always reliable. So there was that initial excitement. But obviously, they needed to refine it.
They needed to really hone it.
To make it useful.
Make it something that people can actually use.
Exactly. And that's where all the hard work from the past year comes in, is taking that raw potential and turning it into something that is polished and usable and user-friendly. And the first demo that they gave really showed how much progress they had made. And it was just the simple act of generating an image that contained text. Now, you might think that sounds pretty basic. But actually, it's incredibly difficult for AI to do that.
Historically, getting an AI to accurately render text within an image has been a really, really tough problem to solve consistently.
And they actually generated this image in real time, and they said that the text was perfect.
Proful said that achieving this level of consistent accuracy with text rendering has been a huge technical hurdle. So it's a really big achievement for them.
It is. And it's also worth noting that in that demo, they also pointed out that this model can also understand some pretty complex spatial instructions. So they were talking about things like focus points and perspective, and they were saying that creating what they called point of view images. So images from a very specific vantage point are really hard to do for an AI. And they showed an example that really did feel like you were looking through someone's eyes.
It was really cool.
It was really cool. The way the image and the text all blended together felt very natural.
It did. And then they moved on to something even cooler. And that was the real-time generation of an anime selfie. So Proful just took a selfie on his phone with Gabe. And then he prompted ChatGPT to make it into an anime frame. And this is so cool because it really shows that the model is not just understanding text. but it's actually understanding real-time visual input as well. And it can combine the two together seamlessly based on what the user wants. And that's what they call omnimodal, right? It's not just trained on text. It's been trained on a massive data set that includes language, images, audio, all sorts of different types of data. And this allows it to understand and generate across these different modalities in a unified way.
And that really builds on the advanced voice mode that they launched previously.
Exactly. It's all connected. And if we think about the bigger picture, you know, this unified training is really what gives users this incredible level of creative control, because imagine being able to feed the model a specific artistic style that you like, or reference a previous image that you generated, or even specify a precise color palette. And the AI can take all of those things and integrate them intelligently into your new creation. It's really remarkable.
It really is like having this incredibly intuitive collaborator who can just understand what you're trying to achieve.
And the best part is this is not some future fantasy. This is real. They announced that this capability is live today in ChatGPT and Sora for Pro and Plus subscribers, and they are planning on making it available to free users very soon.
That's fantastic.
It is.
So one of the things I thought was the coolest demo they did was actually taking that anime selfie and then turning it into a meme. So they took the image, they said, feel the AGI, which is apparently a common meme internally.
At OpenAI.
At OpenAI.
Yeah.
And the model completely understood what they were referencing.
Yeah.
And created this humorous variation.
Yeah, and it's so cool because it's leveraging not just the immediate instruction, but also the entire conversation history.
Right.
And it's combining that with its massive understanding of language and internet culture to create something new and contextually appropriate.
Yeah.
So it's not just a one-off image generator.
Right.
It's a tool you can really have a back and forth with.
And it's that iterative capability that's so exciting, right?
Yeah.
Because you can make little changes and guide the AI.
Exactly. You can ask for tweaks, correct details, and really work collaboratively with it to get the output that you want.
It's so interesting that they mentioned that meme generation was actually a surprisingly popular use case among their own internal testers.
Yeah, it shows you how intuitive and flexible this new capability really is.
It does. And it also leads to this interesting concept that they call workhouse images.
Right, these everyday images that we see all the time that are created with a specific purpose, you know, to persuade, to inform, to educate. And they're so excited to empower anyone to create these types of impactful visuals. And it all comes down to creative freedom, right? They explicitly said that they want to give users a lot of leeway to generate what they need and what they want, obviously within reasonable boundaries. But those boundaries are still evolving. So it'll be really fascinating to see how that all plays out over time.
Yeah, and then they moved on to show some of the more formal applications of this technology, and they brought in a research scientist named Alan.
Right, and Alan's demonstration was really cool because it showed how this technology can translate very abstract knowledge into visual form. So he prompted the model to make a colorful page of manga describing the theory of relativity. And he even asked it to incorporate some humor. It's one thing for AI to explain something complex like that in text, but to visualize it in such an engaging and accessible way, that really shows you the potential for communication that this unlocks.
And I love that he even mentioned humor, too.
Yeah, that's a really interesting aspect because visual humor is so different from textual humor.
It is, yeah.
And it's really cool to see the model playing with that.
It is, yeah. And one of the things that I really liked about this demo is that he gave this pretty open-ended prompt.
Right, but the model was able to take that and run with it.
Yeah, because it was able to draw on its knowledge. To basically flesh it out and create this really detailed visual.
Exactly.
Which, to me, highlights that you don't need to be incredibly specific with this model. You can give it these vague requests, and it can still do something amazing.
Yeah, they did mention that image generation is a little bit slower with this new model. Compared to some previous versions. But they were very emphatic that the quality of the images is unbelievable. So it's a bit of a trade-off right now. They're focusing on quality first, and speed improvements will come later.
And of course, the ability to seamlessly integrate that text within the images is huge, too.
Yeah, they even showed some examples in multiple languages. Which is really cool.
It's very cool.
Imagine being able to create these multilingual visual aids or diagrams with perfectly rendered text.
That would be incredible.
It would.
And then they brought out Mun Chao, one of the engineers working on ChatGPT, and his whole focus was accessibility.
Right, how this technology can really empower individuals who may not have any formal artistic training, right, to express their ideas visually.
Yeah.
And I love his demonstration because it was so relatable.
It was?
He was inspired by a trading card that they created for the Sora launch.
Yeah.
And he wanted to create a similar card for the 4.0 image generation featuring his dog, Sanji.
Oh, that's lovely.
I know. And so he took a photograph of the original Sora trading card and then a separate photo of Sanji. And then he gave the model a bunch of very specific details. Right.
About what this new card should include. Like Sanji's name, a model year, his abilities, weight, height, all sorts of things.
Very specific instructions.
Very specific, yeah.
And given what we'd already seen with the model's text rendering capabilities,
right,
the expectation was that it would be able to handle these details with no problem.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
The model generated this really cool trading card.
Yeah.
Featuring Sanji snowboarding, and all the stats were displayed accurately in this really crisp, clear text.
So cool.
It was really cool.
So cool.
And it's such a great example of how anyone can use this for personal creative projects.
Exactly.
But no, you don't need any special design skills or software. You can just use your imagination and let the AI do the heavy lifting.
And then they moved on to something that was really quite special, actually.
Yeah, Lou, another research scientist, gave a demonstration that was both unique and I'd say even sentimental in a way. His goal was to create a memorial coin that combined elements from the previous demonstrations.
Right.
So he wanted to include Alan's manga, Mun Chao's Sanji card, and even 2 of the background images that had been visible during the presentation.
It was like a little visual summary.
It was like a little memento of the launch event.
Yeah.
And to add to that, they even incorporated a specific hexadecimal color code that represented a spring color.
Oh, wow.
Tying it to the season of the launch.
Right.
And of course, they included the text 4.0 image gen and the current date on the coin design as well.
So cool.
It was really cool. And the way it was able to do this is actually really interesting technically.
Yeah.
Because the 4.0 model is trained non-auto-regressively.
Right.
Which basically means it can understand both the textual prompts
right,
and multiple visual inputs simultaneously within the same context.
Right.
And then render them all together harmoniously in the final image.
Yeah.
Which is not an easy thing to do.
No.
And the final coin design was pretty remarkable.
It was.
It blended together the artistic bear, the radio elements of the manga page, and even Sanji.
Yeah.
Into this really cohesive and visually interesting image.
Yeah.
And to show off even more of the model's capabilities, they did some multi-turn editing on the fly.
Oh, yeah.
They instructed the model to make the background of the coin transparent.
Right.
Which is really cool because it shows you that it could potentially be used for physical production.
Yeah.
You know, you could print this on something or integrate it into other designs.
Yeah.
And what's really impressive is how consistent the model is in understanding and executing these edits.
Right.
You can just use simple chat commands.
Yeah.
It's really intuitive.
It is. And that whole conversational aspect of it makes it so much more fluid and creative.
It does. It makes it feel like a true collaboration.
It does. And they wrapped up by saying that this is live today.
Yes, in ChatGPT and Sora.
Yeah.
For Pro and Plus users.
Right.
And it's coming soon to the API, so developers will be able to use it as well. It's a huge step forward.
It really is. So we've basically seen this incredibly significant leap forward in AI image generation. It's not just a novelty. It's deeply integrated. You can give it incredibly complex prompts. It understands visual input. It can be used for anything from creating silly memes to designing personalized items to really tackling complex educational and professional tasks.
Exactly.
The breadth of what this technology can do is just remarkable.
It really is, and it's really exciting to see how people are going to use this.
It is. It really makes you think about how this could be used in your own work, your own creative projects, even your learning. It's a really, really exciting frontier. What ideas could you visualize now that maybe before you thought were out of reach? And for those of you who are really eager to explore the full potential of these kinds of AI models and are looking for a bit more personalized guidance, I'd highly recommend checking out https://www.sogenie.com. They offer one-on-one training and consulting to help you really take your understanding and application of AI to the next level.
Absolutely. That's it for this deep dive.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you next time.
Bye.